Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. And today I'm going to be doing a reading from my Chiron book, and this is by Melanie Reinhardt. And this is going to be Chiron in aspect to Venus. And I want to thank Tara for enabling me to be able to post this video, because this also assists each and every one of you who also have the same aspect. And also I want to say that the reason I read from any of my books, or the books that I have bought from other authors, and then I ask if you would like a written copy, is because that assists two different parts of your frontal lobe of your brain, so that, and that's the conscious part of our brains, and that enables you to more quickly work through and dissolve those programs and programs, and go beyond, so that you can live who you truly are. Okay, so also, if any of you would like to be added to my newsletter, I started this month, September 2022. If you would like to also be sent my September newsletter, then send me your email to thecreativewoman369@gmail.com. All right, let's get started. Chiron in aspect to Venus. Okay. With Chiron in aspect to Venus, we may have the gift of seeing beauty where others do not notice it, and of finding value in what they dismiss as ugly or worthless. Our values are intensely personal. We adhere to them with great tenacity, and our Venetian preoccupations can even assume philosophical or political dimensions. We might campaign for women's rights, racial harmony, or be an enthusiastic supporter of the arts. We quest after someone or something of great beauty and value, or perhaps for wealth, glamour, or lasting romance. With this placement, we often meet people who already seem familiar to us. Perhaps we feel we have known them in other lives, and may even have some idea of the details. I have met several people with Chiron Venus aspects who had intractable problems in a relationship that were only resolved by taking this perspective. With these planets in aspect, we are often opened to other dimensions of consciousness through painful relationships with others. We find inspiration and discover our next steps in life through intense and synchronous, I hope I'm saying that right, meetings with people who bring new ideas, rich in interpersonal encounters, suggestions, insights, or business contacts. However, we might not realize that we in turn do just that for others, and remain unaware of how much we are appreciated by them. The most important relationships in the lives of those with Chiron in aspect to Venus are frequently those which bring artistic inspiration or personal growth, rather than those which lead to marriage or child rearing. With Chiron in aspect to Venus, we are very sensitive to disharmony between people, and may become involved in others' disputes and take them personally, even if they have nothing to do with us. Perhaps we unconsciously feel responsible for bringing love and harmony into life. This may have roots in early childhood situations. We may have assumed the role of peacemaker and mediated between warring parents, siblings, or in laws. We may have been under pressure to side with one parent against the other in a divorce or separation. Later on, we engage in futile struggles to resolve the unresolvable in relationships. We may have to learn to give up trying. It is often difficult for us to endure conflict, as we may be striving after a level of harmony which is unrealistic and impossible to attain. Alternatively, we could stay in situations of almost intolerable interpersonal conflict, hoping eventually to bring harmony and reconciliation, but wounding ourselves in the process. With Chiron Venus aspects, we may experience a baptism of fire in our first intimate relationships. If we do not learn to stand for our own values, we establish a pattern of always accommodating others, a pattern which usually has its roots in earlier difficulties. People with Chiron and aspect to Venus sometimes follow someone else's path and take on their values and artistic aspirations. For example, I'm going to leave that. This is a specific example, and I'm going to move past that and stay general because, for one, there are several pages here. I want to make sure that I am able to read all of it without my video stopping. And so, again, if any of you want a written copy, send me an email. I'll be happy to send you that. Okay. Chiron aspecting Venus often brings a genuine ability to open others' capacity for relationships and to touch them deeply. This quality usually comes with maturity. However, and initially, we might struggle with an idealized or distorted picture of what relationships are about. Perhaps we require others to be more open with us than we are willing to be with them. Or we see people as mirrors of ourselves and find differences hard to encompass. Although we long for interpersonal harmony, others may find us oppressive. If we are oblivious to the impact we have on others, we will be unable to handle the repercussions. Sometimes incurably romantic, we experience isolation and disappointment when real life falls short of our refined ideals. Perhaps we feel betrayed by friends or lovers, when in fact it is our own idealism which betrays us with impossible standards of harmony. We quest after unattainable people, enjoying a bittersweet pain of emotional dramas, impossible situations, tragedy, and unrequited love. As Robert Johnson puts it, one of the great paradoxes of romantic love is that it never produces human relationship as long as it stays romantic. If we ignore difficult feelings in the name of creating harmony or a perfect relationship, emotional disasters often follow. For those with Chiron Venus contacts, relationships bring their major lesson in life. There's often difficulty with the darker side of relating, with its sexual competition, emotional manipulation, and underground power struggles. However, their journey will usually take them into these areas, and holding on to innocence may result in their becoming vulnerable to being exploited emotionally, sexually, and financially. Underneath their considerable Venusian charm, tact, and diplomacy, those with this placement are adept at getting their own way, knowing how to manipulate others' feelings and even set people against each other. They can be very controlling and contrive to dominate relationships by subtly refusing to compromise. With Chiron in aspect to Venus, we may be drawn to the beautiful people and envy those who are wealthy, glamorous, or famous for artistic achievements. We could become deceived by the external trappings of Venus, and part of our quest may be to reconnect with our capacity for sensual pleasure and rediscover our need for authentic relationships rather than seeking out or living up to images. We could be somewhat vain and obsessed with our physical appearance, feeling uncomfortable unless we are dressed to kill. Close friends or lovers never see us in disarray, and we find signs of aging very upsetting. Perhaps we secretly enjoy provoking envy in others and use our beauty, artistic gifts, and magnetic sexuality as weapons. On the other hand, however, we may be unable to appreciate our own talents or beauty, regardless of what others say. We may fear the envy of other people and may feel deprived of the Venusian gift for enjoyment of the realm of the senses. With Chiron Venus contacts, the painful abuse or neglect of our gifts can eventually lead us to see physical beauty, pleasure, and artistic abilities as divine gifts to be cherished and shared. The story of Psyche and Eros is one whose themes often appear in the lives of people who have Chiron Venus contacts. Psyche is a young woman of such dazzling beauty that people worship her instead of the goddess, Aphrodite, who becomes angry and jealous. In spite of her beauty, however, Psyche is lonely and unfulfilled. After an oracle predicts that she will never find a mortal husband amidst much sorrow and mourning, Psyche resigns herself to a death marriage. Instead of the expected disaster, however, she finds herself borne aloft by the wind and carried to the palace of Eros, where she is treated with gentleness and servants to see her every need. She spends idyllic, I, I, idyllic, ideal, I think it's I hope that I'm saying that right. She spends idyllic nights with her lover Eros, but he always departs before dawn, as she is forbidden to see him in the light of day. Psyche has two sisters who are deeply envious of her beauty and her newfound glory. Eros warns her about their destructiveness and counsels her not to be influenced by them. However, when they visit her magnificent palace home, they sow the seeds of mistrust and fear, convincing Psyche that her beloved Eros is a dangerous and ugly monster, and that she must somehow contrive to see him in the light. One night, Overcome with curiosity and worry for her own safety, Psyche shines a lamp on Eros when he is asleep, planning to kill him. What she sees is not a monster, but a man of such exquisite beauty that she is intoxicated and throws herself upon him with consuming passion. However, some drops of hot wax from her lamp fall upon Eros, waking him, and thus her transgression is revealed. Eros flies away. With Psyche desperately clinging on to him, she falls to earth alone to see her lover vanish upwards without her. Eros takes temporary refuge with his mother Aphrodite, who is enraged by his love for Psyche and casts him out. Psyche wanders in suicidal despair and is eventually brought to the house of Aphrodite. She decrees that she must embark on a quest to prove her worth and sets her some seemingly impossible tasks to accomplish. With assistance from various helpful animals, Psyche does accomplish all the tasks, including a perilous journey to the underworld, and is reunited at last with her lover Eros. The contrast between the noble, mournful, and innocent Psyche beset with painful trials and the powerful, vengeful, and envious Aphrodite underpins this myth. It is Aphrodite who both causes Psyche's suffering, but in the guise of Psyche's jealous sisters, she is paradoxically also the one who stimulates the quest for consciousness. Psyche endures a period of trial and suffering for the sake of renewal of her relationship and gains through it her wholeness. Aphrodite represents the negative aspects of matriarchal consciousness, opposed to individual relationships with men, an envious mother goddess who refuses to release her son and brooks no competition from other women. Psyche's helpers are always from the animal kingdom, and this symbolizes the gradual loss of her innocence through the assimilation of the instinctual side of her nature. The destructive envy of Aphrodite is overcome in this way. Only then can Psyche reclaim her right to individual love. These contrasting characters often appear in the lives of those with Chiron in aspect to Venus. Sometimes a woman with Chiron-Venus contacts has had difficulties with an envious mother or sisters. Growing into womanhood and creativity may be so fraught with fear that this transition is never made, and she may opt for a sad innocence instead, acknowledging her Aphrodite side. Her own sexual competitiveness and desire to be center stage may be difficult but important. A mother, unaware of her own envy, may become mentally or physically ill as her daughter approaches the threshold of puberty. She may play the role of being hard done by and show so little pleasure in anything the daughter feels that sexuality, sensual pleasure, and enjoyment of life are taboo because the mother does not have them. Daughters of such mothers grow up unconscious of their sexuality, but very attractive to men. They often attract unwelcome sexual advances, which cause embarrassment, anger, fear, and indignation. Psyche's suffering is for the renewal of relationship at a more conscious level than it was before. Likewise, suffering through relationship may be a dominant theme in the lives of people with Chiron Venus contacts. We need to discover and acknowledge the purpose of this suffering, however, or we may become entrenched in the role of the victim. Through the trials of the darker side of human interactions, we feel a loss of innocence, but may thus grow in our individual sense of identity and gain in compassion and consciousness. The intoxication of being in love, with love, and then coming to earth with a bump is also a familiar experience for those with Chiron in aspect to Venus. They may cling relentlessly to their illusions, like Psyche clinging on to Eros as he disappears into the sky. They usually suffer more than once the repercussions of making someone else the center of their universe. When the person leaves, they have to rebuild their lives from scratch, undergoing a painful period of inner trials like Psyche. Men with Chiron Venus aspects may, like Eros, fly off at the first sight of a woman who wants to be an individual in her own right. They may seek out pliable, self-effacing women, only to be confronted later on with the full might of an emerging Aphrodite. Somewhere in the lives of men with Chiron and Venus in aspect, there is usually a powerful, magnetic, and sensual woman. The relationship could be one of mutual wariness or of passionate involvement and admiration. She is often kept at a safe distance as friend and confidant rather than lover. Likewise, if you are a woman with Chiron and Venus in aspect, you may wonder why men keep their distance, although you know yourself to be attractive enough. A man with Chiron and Venus in aspect usually has good style, taste in clothes, an eye for beauty, his own and others, and likes to be seen at the best places. If your man has Chiron Venus, wear expensive perfume and take care of your appearance. Let him know your Aphrodite side is there, but don't scare him off by overdoing it. Above all, do not mother him. Men with Chiron in aspect to Venus have a deep appreciation of feminine beauty and often make wonderful partners for women who aspire to be both self-sufficient and deeply feminine as well. Their own artistic and feminine sides are often well developed, making them gifted and artistically creative. For example, I'm not going to use that example. Okay, because that goes into specifics again. All right, so that concludes this Chiron and aspect to Venus reading. I hope this was helpful. And again, if any of you would like a written copy of this, please send me an email. I would be happy to send you a copy. And until next time.